Okay, so I know you guys grew up in London. Can you tell me about how you guys like met up? And I know just like the first thing was being friends, but like
Actually, no, we didn't know each other at all.
Really?
So I was the president of the DJ club at Western.
Yeah.
And I had thrown it was just the worst meeting. It was supposed to be on campus, and I remember a bunch of things messed up for it. So I had it at my house the first night, and I remember it was like a bunch of guys in like a living room, and the power went out, and then I was like, oh great, like great start to a year, right?
Yeah.
And then I remember afterwards, Andrew was in the meeting, and I remember we met up, and I was like, oh, like what do you do? Like what's your story?
Yeah.
And he's like, I make music, and I had like a studio at my place, and we got in the studio and like started playing some music, and just kind of went from there basically.
Yeah, just started making beats together, and then we kind of came swinging in school and just started playing as many parties as we could together. We got booked. We were selling tickets. We got booked to open up events, playing like formals, really anything we could get our hands on to just like get our names out there.
Did you guys have similar musical interests at the time? Like when you had that like first conversation?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, we've always had like very common ground in terms of loving the same artists. Like I remember at that time we both loved Avicii, Calvin Harris, Tiesto. So we always got along really well in that aspect.
Yeah, and on the note of Porter Robinson, I saw his set at Way Home. Cause I went there to see Frank Ocean, but he came on before, and I'm like, oh, these visuals are crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So for the show that you guys went to, that you got the inspiration from, like, how was that? Like,
same thing where we got inspired by the way he did his visuals, by the flow of the show. Like, in one way or another, if you went to one of our shows, you realize it's so different from Porter. But there's a lot of emotions and like things that we try and channel that like that first show kind of gave to us. That we're like, okay, this is what we need to do.
Yeah.
And, it's helped us out in terms of just designing our shows.
And now a lot of the times when people look at artists, they kind of see like you're popping, and they don't really see the hard work or the tremendous like effort that's gone into it.
That's the way it goes.
Yeah, exactly. So talk about the early tracks that you guys made, because I'm sure you guys have made like a ton of tracks.
Well, first off, they're terrible.
We have a graveyard of like bootlegs and just like crappy originals and stuff like that. But like they all came from sort of the same place, where it's like songs and it's stuff with vocals. Like we never really made any instrumental like music at all, but it's all just something that focuses around like a singer or like a top line, and kind of showcases what we do.
Yeah, we were releasing remixes for free on SoundCloud for ages, emailing blogs back when that was the thing to do, and just trying to get our name out that way. But we didn't really start like getting real success until like the Spotify, Apple Music days. So, but that gave us a lot of understanding of just how to like get your music heard.
What was the learning curve from transitioning from SoundCloud and then seeing the streaming platforms?
Hard at first.
Yeah.
Because we didn't understand it. Like, I mean, we knew how to use Spotify, but it's like, how do you get your music on here? What do you do? But we were just very persistent about finding out, Like, I think we've just always had that attitude that when something new comes along, there's like a drive for both of us to just learn to master it. Like, figure, okay, how does this work? What is the deal with this? And just know it inside out. And that's what we did.
And they've been very supportive of us, like Apple and Spotify. They've literally been part of the reason why we are where we are right now.
And I know, like, definitely you guys have a team around you at this point. Like, but in the early stages, in the beginning, like, understanding the business side of things and really, like, understanding how it works beyond the music. How are you guys, like, together? Like, what kind of skill sets do you, like, both bring together? Because I'm sure you guys have, like...
Well, I mean, we're both really good at different things, and we kind of play to our strengths. So, I mean, that's why I think it works so well between us, is because whatever I'm not good at, he picks up the slack, and whatever, like, vice versa, that sort of thing, so...
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff, going back to what you're saying, that we were doing without a team, though. I remember just to get shows, he'd sell crazy amounts of tickets, and then I would go and, just, like, hang out with all these people, get them out, spread the word about us at, like, every party. We were just, like, hustling to do whatever we could to, people make
always
sure that,
grinding.
Yeah, make sure that people knew who we were.
And when the first track, the first big track hit Body, when it finally when it skyrocketed, out of all those early songs that you guys were making, did you anticipate that they'll being the one? Or
no? I mean,
we knew if one would pop, that would be the one.
But that was always the one that he and I were trying to push for, which is good, because that was kind of the one that, like, with our team And, like,
we were all on the same page.
everybody that was on our camp
Yeah.
liked it and wanted to push that one. All the labels, any label we sent it to, except for Armada, didn't want it. They're like, I don't really get it. Like, I've heard it before or whatever. So nobody actually understood it except for Armada.
Yeah, but what mattered is that we were all on the same page about it, and we would fight tooth and nail to make sure that song got heard.
Yeah, and just on that same similar note, like, you know, the like movie Bohemian Rhapsody, like the same thing happened to them with the song Bohemian Rhapsody. They tried to put it out, but they said the song was too long. So it's similar parallels in that too.
Yeah, that happens all the time.
Exactly.
I remember even hearing Sicko Mode for the first time. Everyone was like, "This is so dumb." The song switches up 3 times.
Yeah,
you know. But sometimes people don't really get great ideas, and then they think it's the greatest thing ever. So it's the way she goes.
Exactly. And now, in terms of going from making the music and then eventually doing the actual shows, how were the early shows and how did you
hard?
Really hard.
No one cared about us.
I would sell, like, I made a point sometimes because we weren't making a lot of music at the time, so it was really hard to get put on stuff and to get noticed. So I would make a point of like selling 300, 400 tickets, stuff like that, and getting in with like the right people to maybe play for 15 minutes before like 5 other DJs.
Yeah.
And then it was the main DJ.
The hardest part about it was that no one really cared about us. So playing a show where no one really cares about you is like the worst feeling because they're just kind of like
sometimes we would play to like literally rooms of no people. Yeah. And then it would like people would come in and then it got busy.
Yeah. But it taught us how to just play the best possible way.
Yeah, for sure. Because are there certain moments that you look back at on like, certain shows that kind of like motivate you to just be like, I remember that one time, like certain venues, like I'm sure you've done multiple venues and you've seen like the progression.
A lot of the clubs in London really helped us with that. Like I remember, rest in peace, JBR's, Jim Bob's. That was one that really like helped me learn how to DJ and sort of shape things. And then London Music Hall, that was something that we always we
learned a lot there about how to play to a crowd, how to keep people engaged and what they're looking for. Because whether you're a techno DJ or, you know, a massive Vegas DJ, it's all the same sort of like music that people want to hear and flow to a night, you know? And you have to be familiar with that. And then, you know, later on when we moved out to LA for the first time and we started getting like the odd show, like I was saying, we were kind of booked, like, you know, people would care about us, but people wouldn't care. So it was very motivating to be like, all right, we got to make people care.
Yeah.
You know?
And on that note too, you've done a lot of shows in North America and stuff like that. What was your first shows like, leaving the city and stuff like that? Like, just seeing the whole world, you know what I mean? Just like opening your eyes.
It was really cool. I remember the first time we did a show in the States. I remember I had all my bags packed and I was ready to move to LA, and we didn't have our I didn't have my visa in yet, my work permit to go play in the States, and he had his in, Andrew. And I remember it was like the most stressful thing ever because I was like, oh my God, am I going to get in? Like, we have a big show tomorrow. Like, it's our first show. Like, I want to make sure it's good. And I remember I got a call at like 9:30 p.m. in London, and they're like, yeah, you got your visa. And I'm like, okay, great. Literally had everything, and I just packed my bags, left, and then we went to the States, and we played at Exchange.
Yeah, which is a crazy venue.
Yeah, crazy.
It used to be a stock exchange.
So it was really, really cool.
Surreal.
Yeah, it was a really cool moment.
What would your advice be to like London, Toronto, Canadian artists, like going over the border and just like having their stuff ready?
Don't do it unless you have a visa.
Yeah, because we're lucky. There was a couple gigs we took back in the day where we didn't necessarily have all the paperwork, and it wasn't worth it. Like, yeah, you got to play and it was cool and stuff, but like if we got caught for that, you know, you could really be like banned forever. So just make sure.
Let's leave that part out of the interview.
Yeah.
Let's leave that part out of the interview.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah, anyways, just make sure that your paperwork's in order.
Okay. And I attended the Munch Music Awards. I was on the carpet. You guys had just passed me at that moment. That must have been a surreal moment for you guys.
Yeah, it was amazing, man. I literally grew up watching it at home, and like I was always like, I had never even been to the MMVAs, honestly, because in London it was like kind of like a big mission to get to Toronto. So I was like always watching it at home, and I was like, oh, this is such a cool thing, and I didn't even really know what it looked like on the streets. Like, I was always kind of curious. So
me too.
Yeah, so I mean, this year it was really awesome being able to be the first DJs, to perform it, to win an award. It was really crazy.
Yeah, you see it on TV all the time, and just to be there and be a part of it, it's a completely different feeling. It was amazing.
Yeah, and on the similar note with events, the Junos are going to be hosted in London. What does that like have like significance for you
man,
guys?
it's gonna be so amazing.
Yeah, 'cause-
when I found out it was in London, I was so excited because like most of the time it's like some of the places they do it's a little bit further out. Like I remember they did Halifax one year and like other places. So I mean, to have it in my hometown this year is gonna be so cool.
Yeah, it's a big moment for artists. I remember, when Drake first kind of came out and Bieber first came out, they had that duet on the Junos. There's just, it's like a launch pad for a lot of things. So we're hoping, it can kind of be the same opportunity for us. It'll be really exciting.
Yeah. And back to like on the Much Music Awards, I saw an artist that I interviewed already before that time, and you guys connected with him too, Anders.
Yeah.
I interviewed him around the time he released his EP. How did you guys connect with him, and how did that work out?
So I remember last winter, I was just kind of farting around at home in my undies, like listening to music on Spotify, and I came across Anders, and I was like, whoa, like who is this? Like I haven't heard him before. And I was like, we got it. Like I was so persistent. I was like, we have to work with this guy. We have to work with him. So luckily enough, we had some mutual friends. Because sometimes, like if you just cold message somebody, that doesn't really work out so well. So we had some mutual friends, and they introduced us, and we got in the studio. And I remember, like immediately, we're like, yeah, this is gonna work. Like this is awesome.
Yeah, and he's just so talented. He's got a big year ahead of him. So to get the opportunity to work with him and just showcase his talent, it's an amazing feeling.
Yeah, and I was at the iHeartRadio show. I saw the performance. It blended, like everything was so perfectly well done. It's like
thank you.
It's one of like when it comes even on the note of the collaborating and making music together. When you look for artists, because I can tell for Anders, you heard the music and you thought it was amazing. When you like go out and collaborate with artists, like you're kind of searching for like the similarities and same energy, stuff like that. So talk about some collaborations that you guys done and how it like worked.
Well, I mean that's how Body came about. We moved to LA and. We got invited to this showcase, just from hitting up artists online. A manager got back to us and was like, hey, come out and see this person play. So we went, and it was just like a random bar down the street from where we were living in Hollywood. And Brando was in the opening band that was opening up for this artist that was performing. And we just felt a really strong vibe there. And the performance, was a little bit messy. Guitars were out of tune, stuff wasn't working, but we just felt a vibe. And we were like, we gotta work with this guy, we gotta meet him. So that's sort of just a perfect example of where it's more about the vibe than like how sonically perfect the performance is.
Yeah, exactly. And I know you guys are kind of like building up this huge momentum, going really strong. How do you guys see things going into 2019?
We're gonna be traveling a crazy amount. In January, we're going to be going to Australia, and then we have a little break. We have a little vacation that we've been planning for a while, and then after that, we're basically doing like shows in February, March, April. Like we have stuff booked up until like the end of summer, pretty much. So it's going to be traveling in Europe. We're going to be South America, like pretty much all over.
Yeah, it's only bigger and better from here. So we're just going to keep the good times rolling. Really excited for everything coming up.
All right, that's perfect. Thanks guys.
Thanks a lot, man.
Thanks so much, man.
Sure.
Great to meet you.
Great to
Are
meet
you coming
you.
to the show today?
I'll definitely try to. I know.
You should.
Yeah, I really should because I